exaggerating and embellishing. Sir, hands up, hands up. I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to
hands up.
how many of our ICE agents have been docked or
On the ground. On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go and put them behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here.
I do not know.
There's no recording allowed out here per FBI rights for the building.
So what, I'm sorry?
There's no recording allowed out here.
That's my boss. I have to
There's no
record
recording
everything
allowed out
for
here. You can record. There's no recording allowed out here.
I'm not a member
There's
of
no
this.
recording allowed out here.
I understand that, sir.
I'm here in Los Angeles today, and I was here in the federal building, in the conference room, awaiting a scheduled briefing from federal officials as part of my responsibility as a senator to provide oversight and accountability. While I was waiting for the briefing with General Guillot, I learned that Secretary Noem was having a press conference a couple of doors down the hall. Since the beginning of the year, but especially over the course of recent weeks, several of my colleagues, have been asking the Department of Homeland Security for more information and more answers on their increasingly extreme immigration enforcement actions. And we've gotten little to no information in response to our inquiries. And so I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained. I will say this. If this is how this administration responds to a senator with a question, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farm workers, to cooks, to day laborers out in the Los Angeles community and throughout California and throughout the country. We will hold this administration accountable. I encourage everybody to please peacefully protest, just like I was calmly and peacefully listening in that press conference and attempting to ask a question. No violence, no vandalism. Please continue peacefully protesting, and that's all I will have to say today. Thank you very much.
Can you give us any insight what you and the Secretary said afterwards?
I just watched footage of our colleague, my California colleague, Senator Alex Padilla, being forcibly removed from a briefing by the Secretary of Homeland Security's staff. He went there to observe and to ask questions, and I watched with horror on this video, seeing these agents grab my colleague, my fellow senator from California, grab him, push him out of the hearing as he was identifying himself as a US Senator, bring him into a hallway, bring him down to the ground, bring his arms behind his back. I saw this happen to my colleague, and I am shocked by how far we have descended in the first 140 days of this administration.
I recognize the Democrat leader.
I mentioned a few minutes ago that I had seen a video that sickened my stomach. A U.S. Senator being manhandled, we now know, by federal agents and dragged out of a hearing room. Now there's a second video. It's even worse. He's been thrown to the ground, again, manhandled, brutally taken down, handcuffed. It was disgusting. Anyone who looks at it turns anyone who looks at this, it will turn their stomach to look at this video and see what happened. Reeks of totalitarianism. This is not what democracies do. Senator Padilla, we need a full investigation immediately as to what happened and who did what and what's going to be done to see that this doesn't happen again to Senator Padilla or other American citizens who are seeking their right to redress. It's despicable. It's disgusting. It is so un-American. So un-American. We need answers. We need answers immediately.
I've come to the floor to say I'm extremely outraged that the executive branch's security team have shoved a U.S. Senator out of a room, have proceeded to put that U.S. Senator on the ground and to handcuff that senator. This is what we expect to see in authoritarian nations. They can't tolerate a question, and they start to attack the institutions. This is what we're seeing in the U.S. right now. We're seeing it in the form of the president willfully breaking the law on the rules controlling the executive branch time and time again. We see it in his attack on the press, his attack on the universities, his attack on extorting law firms. We see it in the form of his using the Trump versus United States lawsuit to say, I, the president, am above the law, and I can issue pardons, so the whole executive branch is above the law.
Hey, every U.S. Senator has a right to go in a federal building. It's their job to ask questions of, I don't care who it is. If it's his cabinet secretary, then he has the right to be there. He left here yesterday. I talked to him about it, that he was going back to L.A. because of what this administration has done and made a situation that was manageable much worse. And to force him out of what I thought was a press conference, that's my understanding, it's just, again, inflaming the situation. And he had every right to be there to ask, if the press is asking the secretary questions, a U.S. Senator should be able to go in a federal building and ask a question.